Relax, the keyboard is off, the press box is closed, and the mic is just getting warmed up as the Guardian of the Blue Paint turned writer is about to enlighten us. The show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. For this week's show, time is ticking, and just what are the Flyers management waiting for? Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc. Join Lance and Steele as we bring you all the latest on the Flyers.
Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Inc., where as always, I'm your host, Lance Green.
And as always, I'm your co-host, SteelFlyers, and holy smacks, man, we got episode number 79, man. I mean, this show's getting older than we are, right? 79 shows, yeah, older than we are, right? Well, how about this, man, for the 79th show, while we're at it, time is a ticking here, and just what are Flyers management waiting for? Okay, so Lance, my man, you were ultra busy this week. You had 2 egg salad articles. That means excellent, by the way. 2 excellent articles that we got to dive into and we got to feast our eyes on this week. And man, I'll tell you what. So, I'm debating on which one we should go with first. Let's go with the trio of bandits, since that was the first article that was released to the Flyers Nitty Gritty website just a scant few days ago. But some serious, these guys, I mean, I love the name of the article. In case you missed it, a trio of bandits who the Flyers could obtain this offseason that will wreak havoc on the NHL upon their arrival. And I'm here to tell you, I really want to thank you for posting this, because these are an example of exactly the type of players that this team needs all day long. Okay, so talk to me, my man, about this article, and let's talk about the first of the trio, Ryan McAllister. Tell me about this diamond in the rough.
All right, so this article, let's pull back to why I wrote this article. Why I wrote this article is because the Flyers as a whole are going to need more than just a couple of people to turn this thing around. And if they're going to be any good, they need to follow the example of, say, like the Tampa Bay Lightning, who pull people that others aren't even thinking about and get them to fit a mold or whatever that they need, or a position that they need, and bring in. So, in saying that, there's a league, the Alberta Junior Hockey League, that is very, very underrated in my mind. And a lot of people just write it off because it is a lesser league in Canada. But let's be honest here, some good players came out of it. Cal McCarr, is one of them.
Hey, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, probably the best in the whole NHL right now. He is absolutely on fire. And he played for this team. And, before he went to college, obviously, like these 3 players that we're getting ready to talk about, are going to do the same thing and follow in his footsteps. So, and the team we're talking about here is the Brooks Bandits. Yeah. And they finished the regular season with 52 wins, 6 losses, and 1 overtime loss. All right. That's one heck of a record. Not only did they win the regular season championship, but they also won the playoff championship with the Inter Pipeline Cup. And beyond that, after this article came out, they also went on to win the Centennial Cup, which is them going against the other 8. I think there's 9 leagues that make up their the Centennial Cup that compete in that, and they beat every single one of them. So,
Wow.
and that includes, the Flim Flom Bombers where Bobby Clark played for and all those guys.
I
So,
was just gonna
you
say,
know,
boy, that name comes back to ring some
yeah,
bells.
yeah.
Ah!
So there are some good players to be had out of these leagues. And Ryan McAllister, like you said, is one of them. Uh, he's a 5'10", 183-pound uh, forward. He's 20 years old. All right, he's an overager for sure. All three of these guys are um, players that really came into their own this season once they all got together, but it all seemed to click. And
Mhm.
this year, he was able to score 57 goals, 82 assists for an incredible 139 points in 60 games played, which equates to him scoring a 2.31 point per game average. Um, not too bad, right? So in the playoffs, he continued on and he scored 10 goals and 19 assists for 29 points in 13 games played, besting his point per game average from the regular season of 2.31. No, I'm sorry. He's now at a 2.23. So he came down a
Okay.
little bit, but he did win the Canadian Junior Hockey League's most valuable player for this efforts. All right. Um,
Jeez.
he went undrafted. He's unsigned by any team right now, and he's scheduled to go to play next season for Western Michigan University, where we know a lot of our Flyers prospects right now are just coming out of that system, so it's a good system. It did well for them, and I think he's a diamond in the rough type player that still fits that mold we'll talk about this whole show of being under 6 feet tall, but obviously that
Very
doesn't stop
capable.
it. Yeah, very capable. That doesn't stop him from anything. So
Everybody looks at Claude Giroux, and Claude Giroux is only 5'10",
yeah,
right?
5'11" something. Yeah, yeah.
5'10". I think he's 180 some pounds, maybe soaking wet. I think he is, right? Okay, and look how good of a player he is. I mean, you don't need to be 6 foot and above. I mean, it helps if you are going up against most of the rest of the league that are guys that are that kind of size. You know what I mean? But if you play a bigger game, and that seems like that's what Ryan McAllister does.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? He's got that low center of gravity because he's a thicker 5'10", 183 pounds. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's got
Yep.
some meat on his bones, and he's kind of built like a running back.
A little
I mean,
bit.
I
Yeah.
hate I hate to cross sports there. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But like you find some really good running backs that are like 5'10", 183 pounds. They try to put them up to like 200, so they have a little bit more. They can take a little bit more pounding. You know what I
Right.
mean? But as a hockey player, you don't want that poundage because you need to be fleet of foot.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And be able to, have more of that cardio and conditioning going. So it's better to be a little lighter in the hockey ranks than it is like for the NFL. It's better to be a little heavier. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So I really like this kid, man. Everything that I've seen and read about him outside of what you've written, you know what I mean? Like I read your articles and then that sparks me to go, oh, hey, type in Ryan McAllister on YouTube and watch some of his highlights. And
Right.
then I go to some of my prospect websites and type in this guy's name and go, oh, well, dang.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
all right. Well, cool. Well, dang. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, you got to do the research on these kids because these guys, look, let's face it, you said in the very beginning this team is going to need more than one guy. I mean,
Yeah.
come on. Speaking of more than one guy, the second of the trio is TJ Hughes, who is headed to play for the Wolverines next year.
Right.
And
Right.
they were in the Frozen Four this past season, in case
Yeah.
y'all missed it.
I think they had 7 first-round draft picks on
Something
their
like that,
roster.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, I think they can get some talent to play for him,
You think?
and there's a reason why TJ Hughes was picked to go to Michigan and be able to, play for them.
He got a
Uh,
ride too, didn't he? Get a full ride.
he got a full ride for sure. There's a
You
reason
don't
for
you
that,
don't
and
get that just
mm,
willy nilly.
right. And this is why I sparked this article, because these two players, Hughes and McAllister, they're going to the bright lights of the NCAA, and they're going to be looked at now, especially Hughes playing in Michigan. And a lot of teams are going to be coming after them and trying to sign them. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm saying. The Flyers should jump on this ahead of time, now in present day, and sign them. They can play. That's fine. Let them go play college next season. But they'll be signed to the Flyers, now. Put stock in them now instead of losing out and try a bidding war against 30 teams after next season when he's lighting it up.
And then it makes it that much more expensive.
Right. And he's going to cost more, for sure.
That's exactly it. Sure. You know what I mean?
So let's talk about TJ. Yep. So TJ plays on a line with McAllister. He's also 20 years old, so he's an overager again. He's 5'11", 185 pounds, a little bit taller. He scored 66 goals this year, 61 assists for 127 points in 60 games played. That's a 2.12 point per game average.
Oh my gosh!
66 goals.
Jeez Louise! All right.
I don't care what league you're in. That's impressive.
I mean, gosh, and he's on the same line with McAllister. Right. I mean, all right.
Right. A lot of good chemistry right there between those two. So in the playoffs, he had 12 goals, 11 assists for 23 points in 11 games. That's a 2.09 point per game average. Jeez, man. All right. These kids it's not even fair. It's not even fair who they're playing against. Now, obviously, they're older. So you got to take that into some, aspect of it. But they're blowing teams out 13-0, like most nights.
The whole team is not consisting of guys like this. It's just these couple of kids that are,
right.
And it's only just it's just these couple of kids here that are, we call them kids, but
right.
It's just these couple of guys that are a little bit overage, but for the most part look. We all talk about playing in, especially it's really difficult in the juniors to really judge a player, because you get this kind of situation going on where you have 20-year-olds who are playing up against 17-year-olds.
Sure.
Okay, or 18-year-olds. Look, I know when you look at it on paper and go, 18 to 20. Yeah, but that 2 years is a huge amount of time and difference for a development standpoint of a player. Mm-hmm. Okay, you get a player when they're 18, and as compared to when they're 20. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So.
Yep. And that's also good for the Flyers too. Yes, these guys are playing against younger guys now, but in signing them, they don't have to wait 2 to 3 years for these guys to be ready. They may only need to wait 1 year of college or less for them, to be ready for the big show, or, at least jump into the Lehigh Valley Phantoms.
That's what I was just going to say. Because they're 20, they're eligible now for Lehigh.
Exactly. So, after next season, say, let's let them play in Michigan, because Lord knows they have a better developmental system than the Flyers do. Why not have them train your young talent? It worked well with Cam York. So why not, right? But let them develop, and then at the end of next season, when they're knocked out or won the Frozen Four next year, then let them come to the Phantoms, let them come to the Flyers, whatever, and start there. Because he's not 18 anymore. He's already 20. He can step in. Yeah, and they've seen a lot more hockey. They may have just taken that year or two extra to put on some weight, to further develop their skills. Not everybody's ready to go at 18. All right?
Or
not
17.
Everybody's or 17 when they're drafting, okay? Right. A lot of guys aren't gifted the opportunity. Some players are because of maybe parents' financials or whatever like that.
Well, Mother Nature.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. Mother Nature is a big factor for some of these guys.
Yeah. Didn't drink enough milk and eat enough chicken when they were younger, and now they're trying to make up for it. That they got to these teams and they're starting to teach them how to eat healthy and eat
Yeah,
right to be
yeah,
able to build muscle and all that stuff. So
yeah.
now they're getting the proper training where they might not have before.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. And that's the really cool insight that we got when we interviewed Connor and we interviewed Steven, that they're staying with host families.
Yeah.
Like they're 2,000 miles away from home.
Can be, yeah.
But or more, and and so I can fully understand why it would take some players that extra year to get to where they need to. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'll be real honest with you. If I was a general manager, or if I was looking to bring guys onto the team, I would be looking at those kinds of guys. Because those kinds of guys end up being like really good leaders because they have that great self-awareness. I mean, anybody that can be that age and go, yeah, I should probably stay here and play a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
Or they listen to the advice of a coach who says, you'd probably benefit for another year.
Well, I mean, not to cross sports again, but you look at all these NBA players or prospects coming out of college, and they're one and done, one and done. Well, not everybody's good enough to be one and done. And that's why you see so many of them playing in the G League right now, because they thought they were something, but they still lack something in their games that they should have continued to stay in college and develop under those great coaches there. But they want to hurry up and get to the pinnacle.
To the money.
Yeah, to the money and the pinnacle. So, and it doesn't work out for all of them because they're missing something in their game. And where these guys stayed and continued to build upon their games, and now they're getting the rightful look that they should, and are getting better offers to go play for a lot better schools and get better tutelage from some of the best coaches in the nation.
Can't argue with that kind of logic. You know what I mean? Like, hey, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. If you were the Flyers, you might want to take a look at some of these college organizations and go,
Yeah.
Can we snag some of these guys for scouting or development or something?
What are they doing that we're not?
Or what can we do that that they're doing, or exactly.
Right.
All right. So let's get into the final piece to the trio, being Zach Bookman. And what is it about this 2017 fourth rounder that we're going to talk about?
So this particular player interests me a lot. He's undrafted. He is eligible to be drafted this year. He just turned 20. So he's an American-born right-hand shot defenseman.
Okay, so I misspoke. He's eligible to be drafted this year, right?
Right. I think that's when he was drafted for the Bandits.
Okay.
Yep. So he is eligible to be drafted this summer. He's an overager. He's 5'10", 176 pounds. Again, he is that right-hand shot defenseman that the Flyers need. And he's pretty outstanding player in his own right. He plays with McAllister and he plays, with Hughes, but he broke somebody's record there. A Brooks Bandit alumni. He broke a league record in Cal McCarr's record of most points scored by a defenseman in a single season this year. Where previously McCarr posted an impressive 24 goals, 51 assists for 75 points, holding the record, which led him to be drafted fourth overall by the Colorado Avalanche back in 2017. Bookman managed to break that this year with his stats with 21 goals, 81 assists for 102 points in 55 games played. All right. That is a right-hand shooting defenseman who scored at a rate of 0.85 points per game, guys. All right. In the playoffs, he played in 9 games. He had 2 goals and 8 assists for 10 points. That's over a point per game in the playoffs.
Jeez, man.
Now,
oh man.
Who I think, when I look at this guy is Shane Gossesparrow, but only he can play defense. That's a big difference. A big difference. He can score, but he can also play defense.
But he's still only 5'10" and 176 pounds.
Yes.
Now
But Ryan Ellis is smaller than that, I think, or right on target with that. 5'10".
Yeah, I think he's 5'11", like one.
He's probably a little bit 180
closer
something.
To 2. Yeah. Closer to 200, I think he is.
Right.
Ellis. But look, he's young, and so you could probably put 10 pounds on him.
I think you could. And Zach is scheduled to attend Merrimack College next season and play with them, Division I school for the Warriors. So, why not? This is 3 prospects here that the Flyers could take a chance at, not spend for the forwards, not spend too much money, and have a low risk, high reward type spot. Okay, what if they don't develop? So you let them go, in a year or 2.
Right,
you let them go in a year or 2. An entry level contract for Bookman would be 3 years, but I think there's a lot worse guys that they keep re-signing now in the system. So why not? Try to go get a defenseman that scores
somebody that can help
102 points.
Or somebody that can help the team.
Right, and he's a right-hand shot. I'll take it. This team was phenomenal this year to watch, and I think they're very underrated. Like, the Chicago Steel were for so long. They've started to produce. Everybody talked stuff on the USHL, but now, with the guys that we had on our show here and the guys that have been drafted from the Chicago Steel, there's so many people in the league now that are developing out of these lesser leagues. It's not just the Canadian, hockey league up there, the different, junior leagues from Canada anymore.
That's right.
There's other leagues
They're
all over
good down here in the States
as well. So, and even in lesser ones, these are guys that were passed up to play for some of the top teams in Canadian juniors. And now they continue to work hard and they are bringing themselves to the pinnacle. A lot of these guys can't, in the major, CHLs, teams can't say that they got an offer from University of Michigan to play. There's few and far between, and most of them have to be first round picks to be able to go play for them. So there's something to be said in this, guys, and this talent, and it's just sitting there ripe for the picking, and the Flyers are sitting on their hands.
It's like you're doing their job for them again, Lance. Why do you keep doing that, man? You're so generous. It's like you keep finding these guys that could be really great additions to the team. Look, we've already mentioned that they're playing in they're not playing in the elite junior league, but you know what? It's difficult to put a grade per se on junior leagues because you have a lot of parity where you have really young guys playing against much older guys and vice versa.
Sure.
Especially over in Europe where you have those leagues over there. You're an up and comer. You're 17 years old playing against men.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have a choice. So.
And a lot of times you're buried in the depth chart. They're not going to project you to be playing on the first line with the best players because you're young. They don't care. They want to win games. They don't care about developing talent because most of their talent gets drafted and comes over here anyway. They want to get the most out of you while you can and, go from there. So
pretty much that's what I mean, So, but the fact that these are 3 guys that with Zach being the draft eligible, right? TJ and Ryan, are they both draft eligible or we can just sign them outright?
sign them out right now if we wanted to.
What do you? Okay, come on. Hence the name of the article, or the name of the show.
Yeah.
Time is a ticking, Flyers management. What the frick are you waiting for? All right.
And I think Bookman will go late, if at all. He might go undrafted because of his age, and that's crazy to me considering his talent.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. That's just, how do you? Okay, look. We are not professional hockey player evaluators. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not the guy sitting there with the measuring tape, and we're not the guy sitting there measuring how far the guy jumps and all that other stuff, right? And we're not the coach of these guys, and we're not the scouts because we're not sitting in the stands. All we can see is what they post, what they put out there. Sometimes these players put their own highlights out there, and that's how you get to watch them. Do you know what I mean? If you subscribe to other things or do other things, you can watch some of these games that these players are playing in. Do you know what I'm saying? So the fact that this is the kind of dedication from you, Lance, to get this kind of information, to get this kind of stuff, because this just goes to prove that the Hockey Writers Inc. wants to see the Flyers succeed. Here is a way you could do it. Look, if they sign TJ and Ryan outright, that's going to cost them $1.5 million for 3 years of eligibility. And if they go away, it's $1.35 million. It's going to go away. Big deal. Right?
You could bury
you get
it.
what I'm saying? And that's two
You
players.
could bury it in the Phantoms if they didn't develop.
But that's what I mean, right? They're going to be in college for at least the next year.
Right.
So, I mean, you offer them the contract, they go to college, you come back, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, this is another example of you, Lance, putting out information about how to point this team in a direction, how to get this ship going in the right direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's just frustrating with the amount of different moves they could make, and they just keep. I'll talk about it later in our next article here, but keep making the same mistakes, the same re-signings, and it just irks me. It just irks me. There's so many good things and so many good moves you can make. Hey, let's take some risk. And would signing a player for $700,000-$800,000 that could potentially be a great player one day, is that so much of a risk? I don't think so.
It's very much of a low risk, high reward.
Low risk, high reward.
That's exactly what you need. That's exactly what the Flyers need right now. They need the low risk, high reward because they don't have the money.
No.
I mean, look, this team does not have the luxury of going, man, we need all these players, and boy, we got all this cap space and we got all this money.
Right.
That's not the case here for the Flyers.
Well, let's be honest here. Even if they had the cap space, who the heck would want to come to Philly right now? Do you think, I mean, even people with ties, do you think Johnny Hockey's really going to leave a team like Calgary to come to Philadelphia, even though he was born around the area? I don't think so. Who's he going to play with? You have to build through the draft. You have to build through these particular picks and look outside the box to find some talent so that talented players want to come play with these guys.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like you got to bring some of the honey, because if you don't bring some of the honey, you're not going to be able to attract any of the bees. I mean, I hate to be that literal about it, but I'm so with you on that, though, for real. Okay, so now look. We're going to get into the next article here, okay? And we're just going to dive right in, okay? There's a couple things we need to talk about here with this next article that are wonderful. Player extraordinary. So, in the wake of the deadline to offer ELC contracts, our writer extraordinaire posted this article to the Flyers Nitty Gritty website the morning of June 1st. Bright and early. I mean, like 7:37, something like that. Asking a very, very important question. Hey, Flyers management, what are you waiting for? Sign Connor McLennan already. And it's like, this was breaking news. Wait, hold on a minute. I've just been handed a very special bulletin. Hold on a second here. Wait a minute, folks. Special bulletin. Lance, you told the Flyers they should sign this guy, and lo and behold, they did not make a bona fide offer to Connor McLennan. What?
I don't get it.
It's like you're plugged into this team or something, man. I mean, writing and podcasting and covering the team and all, it's like you know.
Apparently not.
No, what I'm trying to say is that, see, this is sadly another fine example of this team proving that they are not nearly as plugged in as the Guardian of the Blue painter and writer is. Please help me understand, Lance.
All right, so Connor McLennan played for the Winnipeg Ice, a absolutely dominant team. They were knocked out of the playoffs 4-1 by Sebastian Cossa, who the Flyers should have drafted last season instead of giving their first-round pick away, and the Edmonton Oil Kings. McLennan was a 2026 round pick by Chuck Fletcher, who didn't sign him. And after being knocked out, they had the chance to be able to sign him. As I posted this article, and hours later, maybe they came out and said they're choosing not to. Well, let's dive into this. All right, they said that he was too small, and they said he was a little bit slow of skating than they would be hoping for. Well, Chuck, you drafted him that small, and you drafted him with that. I'm not going to even say problem, because the kid scored 43 goals this year in the WHL. Obviously, he's not that slow of foot. I mean, your current roster of the Flyers is slower than him. That's for darn sure. So he's 19 years old now.
Yeah.
He's an absolute sharpshooter. So this year he had 43 goals for 81 points. All right. In the playoffs, he had 8 goals and 21 points. Regular season and playoff points combined, he had 102 points. All right. Matt Savoy, who plays on the same line as him, on the same team, all right, who's a potential top 5 pick who the Flyers could draft this year. Again, he's a year younger. All right. He's a year younger. So what, right? McLennan was drafted in the 6th round. This guy's going to be drafted top 5, possibly. Savoy had 35 goals this year. So Connor had what, 8 goals more than Savoy this year? But you're not gonna select him. Savoy had 90 points in the regular season. He only had 12 in the playoffs to Connor's 21 points in the playoffs. So they both had 102 points between them there. So what? That's 204 points that these players had on the season playing together. Why wouldn't you want to sign this kid and draft his line mate and have that chemistry already? Does that not make sense?
I mean, this is the sick part about this too, because we've talked about this before on other shows. You've written about Savoy, and the thing that kills me about this whole thing is that about what? What was it? Either later that day or the next day, they make an announcement of bona fide offers to two other players. That have you ever heard of them?
Yeah, I mean, I follow all the prospects here, so
okay, but these are guys that were not even on my radar.
No, I mean they're not on a lot of people's radar. I do like one of them. Owen McLaughlin was a 7th-round pick in 2021's draft.
Okay.
He had 72 points this year playing in the USHL. I really like him. He did some good stuff this year, but he didn't have anywhere near the goals that Connor McLennan did.
Right.
And
so not nearly as productive.
Not nearly as productive as far as goal scoring, at which the Flyers need. And they also signed right-hand shot defenseman. So great, right? 6'3", 183 pounds defenseman Ethan Sampson, who they drafted really late in the draft as well, plays in the WHL. But keeping true to the Flyers' inadequacies, he was a -23 on the season. Why does this guy get signed? He can't even play defense, but yet at the same
gets to walk.
But he gets to walk. Yeah. I don't get this, guys. I mean, a lot of people were saying, well, he's 5'8", he's 5'8". Okay, well, let me tell you this: the Flyers passed up on a guy named Alex DeBrincat from Chicago, right? He's playing in Chicago now. He's 5'7", playing in NHL right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? He scored 41 goals this year for the Blackhawks. So size does not matter in today's kinder, gentler NHL. All right. And if these guys are elusive enough, I didn't say McLennan was the absolute speediest guy out on the ice, but he is elusive in nature, and he can get away from guys, and he has a good vision to be able to know, like, hey, I shouldn't skate right by Chara, a guy's Chara size, and he's going to cream me, you know? So Alex DeBrincat, 41 goals this season. He's got 160 goals in 5 seasons for the Blackhawks. All right. The Flyers had the chance to draft him back in 2016 in the 2nd round, but you know what? Who they drafted ahead of time? Pascal Labarge. Tell me where he's playing right now. He's 6'1". All right. He's got size. He was drafted 36 overall, and Alex was drafted 39th. Well, Labarge has never really made it to the NHL. Nope. He played most of this season for the ECHL's Maine Mariners.
Yeah.
Who Danny Briere was looking over this season. So this guy's never progressed, and he's 6'1". But, you know, a guy like DeBrincat or McLennan are smaller in stature, but they don't even get a shot.
I mean, you know,
McLennan had 43 goals. I don't care what league you're in. That's a heck of a lot of goals. He at least deserved a shot at the Phantoms. He's going to be 20. He could play for the Phantoms next year. He at least deserved that shot. I mean, you signed back Linus Sandin.
I mean, right?
Yeah, he's not. You're telling me McLennan didn't deserve more of a shot than Linus Sandin did? Linus Sandin had 8 goals this year for the Phantoms. When coming over from being some hot shot, supposedly from the SHL.
Yeah.
You're telling me Connor doesn't deserve a shot? I guarantee you he's going to have a shot on somebody's, at least their AHL team, and he's already been rumored to have other options out there. Now, could it be true that, like previous Flyers prospects that didn't want to sign, maybe Connor didn't want to sign in Philly? Maybe he's going to wait to see who grabs Savoy and maybe go sign with them.
You know,
to play with his best friend there, you know,
we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of that going back and forth in the, you know, social media platforms and everything too. And that's the other thing, that we're not privy to that kind of information.
Right.
Okay. And we can only speculate, and this is all speculation anyway. It's pretty educated guess speculation, to be honest with you, but let's figure.
Right.
We can only go by what the team releases and what they say and everything else like that. And currently right now they're smashing walls at the Wells Fargo Center right now to build new club box seats instead of hiring coaches and signing players that can actually help this team.
Well, that's more important, right? Ticket sales and merchandise sales instead of putting a good product out on the ice.
That they had Gritty and the Sixers mascot and what else plays there? The lacrosse team.
Yeah, the Wings.
The Wings, right? So they had the Wings and the Fanatic and Gritty, and they all sledgehammered the sidewall there. Look, that's the whole premise of the name of this show. Do you realize that I'm currently taping this show right now on the 2nd of June? Right? When's the draft?
Soon.
No, when's the draft? The weekend of the 23rd, I think?
Yeah.
Something
I think so. Coming up.
Let me take a quick look here. Maybe it's the weekend of the 24th, 25th?
Thursday, July 7th, it says. So.
Oh, well.
Coming up. Ends July 8th. Yeah.
All right, so July 7th. So they get a bit of a reprieve and an extra week tacked on. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
But see, that's saying when it is, but I don't know if they're going to hold it then. I think they're, with COVID and all that. It says full coverage of the NHL draft to be held on July 23rd, 24th online. Who knows, coming up.
Okay. My point being that here we are, June 2nd, at the recording of this show, when we're doing this recording, and this team still does not have a coach. So how can you reasonably try to sign players?
Or draft certain players to fit a certain mold of a organization.
Okay, I read an article today about what Danny Briere's been doing. Okay, and it's impressive what Danny Briere has been doing for the team. He was named the assistant to general manager February, I think, something like that. And so now he gets to sit in on the interviews now with these prospects. So Philadelphia gets to interview, I think, 16 or between 16 and 19 prospects they're allowed to interview. Okay. And because the combine's going on right now. So the Flyers scouting and they're allowed to interview 16 to 19 players. Okay. And I'm reading that Danny Briere is sitting in on these interviews and is encouraged to participate in the interviews. And he picks his spots, and he said, you run the full gamut of all the players that come in, and, some guys are forthright, some guys are shy, some guys are confident, some guys aren't, you know what I mean? And he gets to probe and do all those kind of great things. Well, that's all fine and great. But why am I not reading about you guys talking about who's going to be the next coach? Why isn't there a coach here? There's no direction for this team. There's no system in place for this team. General managers do not impart systems.
Yes, and exactly. How do you know what a top 5 pick, it should be the next face of your franchise, being that Giroux's gone. How do you know which one to pick when you don't have a system of which will fit him best? I mean, to make a selection, to pick the right guy for the next 10 to 15 years to lead to your franchise's success.
Look, we can't be the only ones that see this. Apparently we are.
I don't know.
Apparently we are the only ones that see this, because come on. I mean, it's like, it just seems like the whole entire organization is just sitting on their hands, having a lemonade, kicking back, going, yep, everything's cool.
Well, I mean, it goes back to those club box seats and everything else. That's what really matters in this corporate run business. So, until they realize that, the hardworking fans of Philadelphia that don't get to sit in those club box seats and spend their hard-earned money driving, good grief, nowadays with the price of gas, to these games to see this team fail night in and night out is getting
miserably
old.
Yeah.
And those are the people that are true fans, not the guys that show up in suits that are dining and whining a business associate or something, show up in the second period for a game, that are getting to sit in those boxes. Those are not the true fans that you should be trying to please right now. It's the fans that have been with this team since, for 30, 40, 50 years, however old they are, and, live and die by this team and have for so long. That's the fans that should be feeling disrespected right now.
Do you know what I mean? Lance, look, I got to tell you something, my man. A lot of effort goes into these articles that you put out there to let people form their own opinions, to allow people to read these articles, to get them thinking, to, look, you want to see this team succeed. I want to see this team succeed. Everybody at SteelFlyers All Sports Network wants to see this team succeed. And the fans want to see this team succeed, and all the viewers and everybody wants to see. Look, Philadelphia being successful in the league is good for the league. Not just for the fans in Philadelphia it's good for the league as well, all the way around. Because let's face it, how many games do the Flyers get national TV? Usually over 20 per season.
A lot of rivalry games for sure, yeah. Heated rivalry.
Have for the last 10 years, easily for the last 10 years, have had a lot of national games on the national networks. Do you know what I mean? So Philadelphia is a good market, is a good draw market, and this is an opportunity. You've been handed an opportunity to take one of the most storied franchises in all of hockey and make it great, and you crumpled it up and threw it in the dumpster. That's where we are right now. That's where this team is right now, as far as I'm concerned. Right? There's no direction. This management has to me, they just don't seem like they have a clue.
I mean, it certainly leads you to believe that. A lot of fans, talking to them, via Twitter, everything else, just aren't sold on this team moving forward, and aren't gonna be putting the money into this team and spend their time to watch this team continue to lose. It'd be one thing if they came out and said, hey, we're going to do a full-on rebuild. We're going to stink for a couple of years, but we're going to select the right players and bring in the right coaching staff and the right GM and the right everything to do it right this time around. And I think the Flyers fan base would be okay with that. But to lie straight to their face and say that we're one or two people away from competing. I'm sorry, are you watching these playoffs? There's no way in heck. I don't care if everybody's healthy. There's no way in heck that we're one or two players away from competing with Colorado or Tampa Bay and Carolina.
Or
no,
the
thank
Rangers,
you. We're even the Rangers. Yeah. So these guys are full of themselves or on illicit drugs or something. I don't know.
They're full of something.
So I just don't know what direction they're going in. Like you said, every signing that would make sense, they're not making. I mean, the only one I like is finally bringing over Ivan Fedotov
Yeah, that was a good
to
one.
back up, Carter Hart, because of the uncertainties there the past couple of seasons. But I really don't know where this team is moving forward. Like you said, there's no clear direction. There's no coach that's been hired with a set plan and a game plan and a way of systems being implemented that you should be looking at very closely to draft the player that is going to fit that. I'm at a loss with this team. I really am. And to let a player of Connor McClennan's abilities just walk out the door. And I mean,
You drafted him. You had him in the house.
yeah, I mean, you drafted him. It was looked at as a really good, draft pick, and kudos at the time. I said, I didn't even know this guy, but kudos went to him, and at that time. So to just let him walk, I don't get it. His numbers were right up there with Elliot Dejournay this year,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I just don't get it. And I thought those two were going to be two of the bright spots of the Flyers' future moving forward. But you just let one of them walk to be able to bring back, like I said, a guy like Linus Sandin. I'm scratching my head here, Steel. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. I don't get it. I really don't get it.
How many more times are we going to bring back Radcliffe? How many more times are you're going to keep putting all your stuff? Why isn't guys like Jay O'Brien, who was a point per game player in the NCAA, signed? He was a first round pick. There's questions here that need to be answered. How much longer are you going to let Morgan Frost, develop?
Be on the team.
Develop. And why is everybody making a big deal this past week about Shusko signing in the KHL? The guy had a 0.27 point per game average in the Phantoms. Who cares?
See ya.
Like,
bye.
Why'd we hold on to him this long? I don't get it.
See,
I really don't get it.
It's like all you're doing is pointing out reasons why certain people should not be currently employed.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if I was doing this kind of stuff in my job, right, stuff would not be working. Things would be breaking. Right? There would be complaints up the wazoo. That's just not how that goes. We can't be having this, man.
Yeah, a lot of things not making sense. I mean, a lot of people are like I said, Samson was just drafted last year. Why does he got to be signed now in lieu of? I get that he's a right hand shot defenseman, and you guys don't really have any, but you don't go after a guy like Jay O'Brien and try to bring him up when you need centers. I don't get it. I don't really get it.
See, that's exactly right. Now, here's going to be the really sick part about all this. Okay, I can't wait to see what's going to happen when they announce the next coach. Right? I'm still holding out my original prediction of it being Tocchet. Although I read some stuff that they might potentially be working on a
Tortorella deal.
Yeah. I might have to do some boycotting if that becomes the coach of the Fly. Oh my gosh, man! Are you kidding me? I keep saying that this team has no direction, and this team has no clue. And bringing a Tortorella type coach in here with the current roster that you have is, to me, not the best way to go. Okay? I understand that you need a guy to come in here and be able to motivate these guys to a certain extent. But you also need a guy that can come in here and bring a team together. Like, you remember when Laviolette got, or even, I'll even go back and say, I think Ken Hitchcock was the first one that did it. Where when he came to the team, the guys like went to a different city during training camp, right? And had like 4 or 5 days where they just did drills and stuff wherever that city they went to. And then they had, and the night they would go bowling or, whatever. Right?
Team building, yeah.
Yeah, right? Well, have we seen any of that lately happening with the Flyers? Not since Laviolette was coach. Right? We don't, that they did that team building thing when they went to Prague, but that was because that's where they had to go anyway. When they played the opening couple games or whatever over there in Europe, that first season for AV. You know what I mean? That was kind of a team building. And I think that's what propelled the Flyers to being as good as they were, because of having that team building and that chemistry and, all those kinds of things. Do you know what I'm saying? And AV was the type of guy where he wasn't necessarily going to take a line and go, all right, well, everybody's going to be different for that line every single night. He would put a line together and keep that line together for multiple games. Do you know what I mean? And so that's what this team needs. This team needs to have a coach that can put a system together that's going to be good for this team, okay, and good for the players that are on this team. If you want to have it's like the Flyers want to have a Tampa Bay team or a Tampa Bay type team, right? But they got Arizona players.
I don't know. I think I'd take some of Arizona's players right now over the Flyers. But you get what I'm saying,
though, right? Like they want to be Tampa Bay level, but really you're kind of Arizona level right now. You know what I'm saying? Did that make sense? Did I say that? I don't know. Like I said, we want to see this team succeed. Here are some reasons that you could succeed. Here are some things you could do that would improve this team immensely. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you have any idea who they think they're gonna be with guys? Are they gonna make an announcement anytime soon for a coach? I mean, geez, what the frick?
Yeah, I don't know who else they would interview. They've interviewed. I'll give them that. They did their due diligence in, applying, having a lot of people brought in a lot of people to be interviewed and everything like that, and that's great. Okay. But make a decision already.
I mean, nobody's got a contract.
Get somebody in here. Yeah. And the people that have been interviewed, a lot of them don't seem that they walked away too impressed.
Or that they were, making comment that, man, I just interviewed for the Flyers gig, and I'm really excited. I hope they offered me a contract. I mean, they're probably not allowed to say that kind of stuff, but right. There wasn't a lot of fanfare and there wasn't any deals.
Well, I mean, it's probably more like, if I have to, I got to pay my mortgage, so.
I mean, yeah, the coaches that they have interviewed for the most part don't really need the money per se. You know what I mean? But right. and that's the other thing too that is kind of blowing it out of the water, because Philly has the quote unquote blank check. Right? So that means they can dangle $5 million a year in front of a coach and be like, "Hey man, I can pay you $5 million a year."
Yeah, I mean, they better, as much as my cable bill is from Comcast, they darn well better pay whoever what they want. Jesus.
I'm with you on that, man. And it doesn't get any cheaper; it just get more expensive. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. So, and they're the only game in town. Anyway, So, like I said, we just want to see this team do well. We want to see this team win and be successful. We want to be able to be rooting for the orange and black at this time of the year like we should be. Seriously, Lance, before the whole, I'd say since Giroux was drafted, okay? Before Giroux was drafted, the Flyers had made it to the playoffs 28 out of the last 30 years. That's a pretty good stat, right? And then when Giroux was drafted, right, they made the playoffs for like his first, 6 or 7 years. And then that wasn't the case anymore. You know what I mean? And we made that run in 2010, right? And then we had a couple others here's and there's, but for the most part, it's ever really since Giroux's been here that Philadelphia's been sporadic with their playoff. Do you know that this past playoffs was one of Giroux's best? And he was playing for another fracking team. And he barely even scored anything in the second round.
Yeah.
Like, I think he only had like 2 assists and 1 goal in the second round. I mean, he only played 4 games. You know what I mean? But
Right.
He had one of his better statistical playoffs in a long time playing for Florida than he's ever played for Philadelphia in the last couple seasons. His last couple seasons playing in the playoffs for Philadelphia, he had virtually nothing. No assists, no points, no nothing, no goals. You know what I'm saying? He virtually disappeared. Right? He was a force for Florida in the first round.
Well, as we're talking, I'm getting another idea for an article, and I'll probably be writing that next week. But I think that's one reason why Giroux's numbers went down here in Philly is the people that left, the kind of player that left that the Flyers previously always had, and that would be a power forward.
Yeah.
I don't think they have any power forwards on the team anymore.
No.
I mean, when you look at Simmons and Hartnell, Leclerc, Knuble, all these guys were very successful. I mean, John Leclerc was a 50-goal scorer. Simmons, 30-goal scorer. Hartnell, 20-goal scorer every year. Knuble, 20, 25, 30 goals every year. Because they played that system very well.
Yeah.
They don't have one now. I mean,
no,
they have one under contract, but let's face it. I don't think JVR's.
Well,
worth
he's
that
under
$7 million
contract.
Contract. Yeah,
he shouldn't be under contract. That's the other thing they should do is a couple moves and everything. So,
yeah, good luck getting rid of that contract.
Yeah, right. Because ain't nobody gonna want that. So, well, Lance, I'll tell you what, man. Look, I want to say this. I just want to come out and say this. I've read a lot of garbage over the last couple of years when it comes to Philadelphia Flyers articles, writing from the outlets, from all of them. Very few and far between do you find somebody who calls it like he sees it and writes the truth. And, Lance, I got to tell you, man, I've been following the Flyers now for well over 25 years now. Okay? And I still look forward to your articles. I still can't wait to read the next article because it's written well. You care about what you're writing. You care about the subject that you're writing about, and you do the research to back it up with the facts. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's so refreshing to read your articles compared to the garbage that's out there. There's so many people that are just phoning it in. There's so many people out there that are just copy pasting. You know what I'm saying? And it's very hard to find somebody who actually cares about what they're writing about. And I'm just glad that I get to read your stuff. You know what I
Well,
mean?
I appreciate it, and guys, I really don't pay him to say that. Um, I don't have the money to anyway. So, uh, but I like to think that I don't read or watch anybody else's podcasts. I don't
No, I
read
don't either.
anybody else's
No,
articles
huh?
because I don't want it to influence me. I
Right.
watch the games. I've
Yep.
played hockey my whole life.
Still
I
playing.
still play. I still play today. I coach the sport. I
Yeah.
live, eat, and breathe this sport. Um, and I like to write articles to get, like you said, to get people thinking. I speak the truth. I don't hold anything back because I think that Philadelphia
Why?
fans deserve that, and that
Yeah.
they're hardworking people and they're not dumb like some of these other hockey fans that don't know the game. These
That's
guys
true.
are passionate sports fans in every sports, covering every sports team in Philadelphia. They are a passionate fan base, and
But
they
they're
deserve.
knowledgeable.
They're
But they're
knowledgeable.
knowledgeable. Yeah.
They they know when they're being lied to by all these other people that are just phoning in or fanboying it up or writing for a paper and just trying to get the team's propaganda out there. Uh, I'm not about that life. I don't speak propaganda for this team. I speak what I see. I would love to talk, great things about this team and have previously when they've had success. But
Yeah.
right now, they're in a sad state for sure.
Yeah.
And I love to write articles for you guys. I appreciate all the feedback that I get, and good or
Yeah, man.
bad. I like to hear it. Um, and I love to get you guys thinking and to show you some examples and show you some stats and throw it out in front of you so you can, kind of regurgitate it and chew it down a little bit and really take a look with your own eyes at some of the stuff that, needs to be seen, needs to be talked about. So
Exactly.
I appreciate it, you guys. We've
Yeah.
gotten a lot of views lately, picked up a lot of views. So please tell your friends about this show.
Please,
Please
man.
have them read my articles, and
Please.
you can always find me on Twitter at LNGBASSIST, the numbers 39. Anything you want to talk about with this team, any questions you want to or comments you want us to
For sure.
have on this show, I'll be glad to read it and try to fit it in, guys.
For sure. For sure. And look, all you have to do is go to your any of your podcasting platforms and type in Hockey Writers Inc. From Google to iHeart to Spotify to Amazon to Apple. Just type in Hockey Writers Inc. and we'll come up and you'll get to hear our latest episodes. Or if you go to YouTube, you get to watch the latest episodes. Or if you go to the website, you can check them all out there too at www.steelflyers.com. And thank you to all the great folks here at SteelFlyers All Sports Network. I want to just say this, though, okay? This show has been one of the most fun shows that I get to do. Okay. And we get to sit down here with Lance. We get to talk, great Flyers hockey. And I just want to thank all you guys out there for watching. And we really appreciate all of the support. We wouldn't be here if it wouldn't be for you guys. So a big Hockey Writers Inc. salute to the fans for all your support, and especially all you guys watching now. And a big Hockey Writers Inc. support, too, as well, for the FlyersNittyGritty.com site, for posting all the great articles and for posting this podcast and everything in this show for us, too. So I really appreciate that. Guys, thank you all very much. Check us out on the next Hockey Writers Inc. show. You can find me on Twitter at SteelFlyers52, or you can find us all on SteelFlyers.com. We'll see you all on the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.